Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast, where you learn how to extract your business and personal deep wealth. I'm your host, Jeffrey Feldberg. This podcast is brought to you by Deep Wealth and the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience. When it comes to your business deep wealth, your exit or liquidity event is the most important financial decision of your life. But unfortunately, up to 90% of liquidity events fail. Think about all that time and your hard-earned money wasted. Of the quote-unquote successful liquidity events, most business owners leave 50% to over 100% of the deal value in the buyer's pocket and don't even know it. I should know. I said no to a seven-figure offer and yes to mastering the art and the science of a liquidity event. 2 years later, I said yes to a different buyer with a 9-figure deal. Are you thinking about an exit or liquidity event? Don't become a statistic and make the fatal mistake of believing the skills that built your business are the same ones to sell it. After all, how can you master something you've never done before? Let the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience and the 9-step roadmap of preparation help you capture the best deal instead of any deal. At the end of this episode, take a moment and hear from business owners like you who went through the Deep Wealth Experience. As a transformative leader of multiple successful companies, Brazilian-born Alex Oliveira has helped companies advance their brands by executing interactive marketing campaigns for over 12 years. From SMBs to Fortune 500 brands like Ford and Allstate, Alex enjoys a diverse portfolio of clients. Alex's major passions include adventuring with his wife and 4 kids, investing in startups, and giving back to the community. Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast, and you would expect nothing less than an absolutely epic episode that we've lined up for you today, and we will not disappoint. So I have a question for all you business owners out there. I mean, how many times have we seen this? We're sitting around, we're talking, we're strategizing, we're looking out on the marketplace, and we're looking at these really big, large companies, Fortune 10, 1,000, 100, you pick your number, and we're like, wow, they got some kind of secret sauce going on. Wouldn't I love to have a little bit of that to grow my revenues, take my company out to the next level? Here's a rhetorical question for you, one of a few that we're going to have on the podcast today, but wouldn't you love to have a little bit of their secret formula or the secret formula that has helped some of these huge companies out there? Well, no spoiler alerts here. We're going to have you keeping on the edge of your seat for the answers to that, but we're going to be doing a deep dive into that with today's guest. So Alex, welcome to the Deep Wealth Sell My Business podcast. An absolute pleasure to have you with us. And you know, Alex, there's always a story behind the story. What's your story? What got you to where you are today?
Thanks for having me on the podcast, Jeffrey. I'm definitely excited to talk to you and the listeners here. So what got me to where I am? We're a typical immigrant story coming to America when I was 10 years old. My mom, dad came from big families, 11 brothers on my dad's side and sisters. My mom's 13. So big families, but most people were in my family were not educated. So they went on to start their own businesses, and many of them succeed and others not succeed so easily. And as I grew up, I really enjoyed watching the whole entrepreneurial thing. You know, my parents did succeed in their business here in America. They built a multi-million-dollar clothing company. And so I grew up in that. And what I saw, it was beyond hard work. I think, as my mom would say, it was ambition and hunger that I watched like firsthand. And so early on, I knew I'm here. I got to go do it bigger and better than my parents, because they gave me the opportunity. Came here to America with no English and had all the challenges. They set it up for us. And I went to college, but during my last couple semesters, I dropped out for a big opportunity that paid off. So I wouldn't tell anybody to drop out, but it did work out for me. And I've since built several multi-million-dollar companies, one that I exited, a couple that I just shut down because I was ready for the next opportunity. And the ones that I'm in right now keep growing. So I'm lucky. I've been working with my wife for 15 years in the businesses. So I would say that's one of the magic sauces for me, Jeffrey. But other than that, yeah, it's just been having that hunger every day to do the things that I love doing and going after it. If I start getting bored with something, then I know that there's something wrong.
Quite the background that you have there. I love just the whole coming to America story and 11 siblings on one side, 13 on the other side. You have a lot of aunts and uncles, but then that whole entrepreneurial journey. And for our listeners out there, I hope you picked up on that. We're speaking with a fellow business owner who's had some liquidity events himself and is right at home with what we're going to be doing and talking about. And so, Alex, tell us a little bit about how your background really helped you focus with what you're doing today, because you're a really modest fellow. And we're talking a little bit offline, and I shared, wow, everything that you've done, I mean, you could just have all the accolades going, but you're simply like, okay, here I am. What's going on? How can I help? And you just have that service attitude. But why don't you share for our listeners some of the things that you've done behind the scenes that have really made a difference, both with the larger companies, but also with the regular businesses, the small, medium-sized businesses as well. Would love to hear what's going on with that.
Sure. I mean, I think one of the biggest things that I've done in my professional career as an entrepreneur is to always be ready to take those chances, and if opportunity knocks, it could be in Canada, it could be in Europe, Brazil, wherever. I hop on a plane, I go, I meet clients face to face. And if I really want to close a deal, whether it's with recruiting a new team member or bringing on a new client, you got to go after it. You can't just send an email. And this is even going back 20 years. I've always been willing to get in front of someone, explain why they should do business with me, and then build that relationship and never be in a super big hurry. I learned that from watching my parents build relationships, which was to first be of service and show the value and then come in. It always annoyed me when I hired salespeople or when I was being sold to from a vendor, when the extent of the relationship was, hey, Alex, how you doing? Let's grab some lunch. Boom, I want to sell you this. I was like, listen, if you're in such a big hurry to sell, it's not going to work for me. And as a marketer, I know it's counter to what you're taught. And most marketers are taught to, hey, this offer is only going to last so long. So if you don't strike the iron while it's hot right now, it's gone. I'm selling it to Jeffrey. That product is no longer there. And that's just a bunch of bullshit, because there's plenty of supply when it comes to especially service related businesses, So I always tell clients, like, don't ever be forced to buy something if you're not ready to buy. The salesperson, the business development person, the owner, whoever's trying to compel you to get on that journey with them and buy their product or service, they need to give you the opportunity to try it out, get to know you, talk to your other customers, and things like that. So those are some of the lessons that I've learned. And I think that probably the biggest one that I'm still learning, Jeffrey, which is why I come on podcasts like yours, I listen to podcasts like yours and many others, is keep learning. It's just to keep learning, that attitude of continuously reading books by amazing people who have a story to tell and skills to pass on. So I'm passing that on to my 4 kids, which is continuous learning. So spend a lot of time learning. And then most importantly, apply that learning. And along the way, I've made a ton of mistakes. I'm pretty certain I'll keep making those mistakes, but typically the big ones, I only make it one time, because then I'm constantly like hammering at it. How come this didn't work out? Oh, I see, because I made that wrong move. Don't do that again.
With your podcast, Dadpreneur, that you're just out there and you're paying it forward. Hey, here's what's working. Here's what's not working. But let's circle back for just a moment in terms of the business side. And for some of our listeners, it's probably going to be a stretch. They probably will not have heard of some of the companies that you've worked with. And I'll mention the word Disney and Ford and Allstate, and it may not ring a bell for them. I don't know. You probably have to get some customers that people can relate to, Alex, like what's going on with this. But what are you doing in terms of lead generation for some of the bigger companies that are really making a difference? Because you could say, Alex, they almost have an unlimited budget with what they can do. They have a gazillion dollars. What's going on that's not working for them that they're asking you for help that you're really making a difference in?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, in this business, if it weren't for companies, I have a love and hate relationship with companies like Google and Facebook and all the other, platforms out there, because if it were not for those types of companies, I would have chosen a different business over the last 12 years. But really what it comes down to is that it allows marketers like myself to create your own little system, which is a sequence of events that happen within the software that we built. And we're not the only ones. There's a ton of guys out there who have built these algorithms within their software to basically get the companies to be visible, and then so that you can generate lead directly with their specific target audience. So think of it this way: a company like Ford, Allstate, Nike, Disney, they need traffic to their website. I mean, branding, everyone knows them. However, when it comes to offers, if you're online and you see a nice pair of Adidas, Nike wants to be there as well. And so everybody wants your eyeballs. And then one of the ways that these companies do this, get these clicks, Jeffrey, is by just buying clicks on Google Ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn, and whatnot. So that's buying retail, which most of your listeners, if they're running businesses, they're buying clicks at retail. They're paying the same thing as the marketer, as the agency is buying. That's the same price. Then there is what's called affiliate marketing. So that's what I built my business on. Affiliate marketing says I go and I build an army, a network of what we consider publishers, that is bloggers, influencers, and other people who have a captive audience. And I take their demographics and I go out and I market to companies like that. So I can go to a dealer network and say, hey, dealers, I have a list of new car buyers here. How would you like to put your offer in front of them? And for doing that, we'll charge you X per lead. So they'll say, great, let's co-brand. We build a landing page. We drive traffic. If the leads are generated, they pay us. If the leads are not generated, they don't pay us. So that's the little secret that a lot of small to medium businesses still don't know about to this day, which is affiliate marketing is a different way of buying traffic at wholesale. The downside is you can't really do it on a small scale. Just to give you your listeners an idea, a typical affiliate marketing program, just to set it up, costs somewhere between $12,000 to $15,000. That's just the software and the setup of the system. Then you have to go out and get an affiliate manager, and then you have to go buy that traffic and pay for the leads. So it's not easy to come into it because unlike Facebook and Google, when you buy clicks at retail, you can spend $1 a day if you wanted to, but then you're not getting that audience. So again, you will be hard pressed to find one Fortune 500 brand who isn't using that system to generate leads, B2B or B2C, Jeffrey.
So you're starting to peel back the onion here a little bit in terms of what's going on. And I know as business owners, sometimes we hear the word affiliate marketing, and let's look at the glass as half empty instead of half full. And sometimes you hear the comments, wait a minute, maybe in some cases, decades building my reputation, building my brand. And when I think of affiliate marketing, I'm just thinking of some, how can I put it, maybe some less than reputable places or sleazy places out there that are now flogging my name because they're out for a buck. And isn't that going to hurt me? Or how do I protect my brand in this whole process when I'm really trying to do a good thing, reach out to more people, not be the best kept secret in the industry, solve people's problems, all of that? How do I protect myself from that? What would you say to that kind of comment that would be brought up?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a great question. And it's one that's going to get answered if you get a good affiliate manager to set up a program for you. So when they're recruiting those influencers, those bloggers, those creators, it's their job to make sure that they fit your criteria. So to your point, let's say you were selling Bibles. You were selling Bibles to obviously people of the Christian faith. And you would want to tell your affiliate manager to not seek the atheists, just to give that extreme example here. But that could happen because the guy who's building the affiliate program, as you said, may say, I don't care who sends us traffic. I got to make money. So I'm going to recruit everybody. But that's not the way it should work. It should absolutely align well with your mission, your values, and all of those things that you put into there. So when you think of it as far as controlling the brand, once that user, that consumer, be a business or a consumer, once they see your brand and your offer, from that point forward, the relationship is with you, Jeffrey. So it's up to you to nurture and then bring them into the fold and say, here's the customer experience you can expect. The problem is for most small and medium businesses, and I really do mean most, I'm being a little harsh, but with good reason. The problem for most small to medium businesses, their processes aren't always the best. So every user gets a different experience depending whether they talk to John or Jane or whoever, which is why small to medium businesses that are independently owned don't often last but 7 to 10 years on average. I mean, we know all the stats, what they are. Right here in the US, the SBA will show you 85% are out of business after 10 years. So when you look at franchises, when you look at publicly traded companies, they stay in business forever, for decades, centuries. because they have processes. And when I meet with small to medium businesses, Jeffrey, one of the first questions is like, walk me through your process. And then we secret shop them, letting them know we're going to secret shop you over and over and over. And then we're going to come back and tell you what your NPS or your score is for customer service. And lo and behold, there's a lot of room for improvement. No one wants to hear that. And we'll say, look, we secret shopped you. We went through your entire customer journey. There was 10 different experiences and 5 of them were really terrible, which is why you're not closing enough business to begin with. You need to train your people. You need to improve your systems. That's not really a marketing thing. That's just a customer service thing that anyone can do on a regular basis, Jeffrey.
And I love the way you're beginning to walk us through the whole process of what's there. And that's really great minds think alike, because I was wondering, okay, so you've had me buy into the whole concept of I'm going to have these affiliate marketers or these affiliates on my behalf that are going to be doing it. But Alex, you've just been very transparent and said, hey, it's going to take X dollars to do and Y time. You're going to need this, you're going to do that. And you're right. For a lot of business owners, I don't have time for my own business, never mind something new that I have no idea about of what I should do, where I should turn, where I should start. So let's walk us through a little bit about how you would fit into that role now. So a business owner comes to you, Alex, heard about what you did, really like that. I'd like to bring you on board and have you help just get us out there and set this whole system up. So what does that look like, Alex, with your system? Because you've been doing this for almost a decade and a half, and you've been at it for quite some time. You've gotten the success for yourself. You're now taking your in the trenches experiences, what you've learned, where it hasn't worked, where it has worked, and you're now making that easy because you've done the heavy lifting, and now you're sharing that with others. So what does that process look like? What does it look like, when I come to you and I say, okay, let's go. Let's start this whole process. Where do we start? Where do we begin? If you could walk us through that, Alex.
Absolutely. This is something that anyone who owns a business in any position can do for the business. It's an assessment, like everything else in life, whether it's your physical, your car, your house. We're all going to do inspections and assessments and analyze the whole system. So just start with an analysis. How are things going? You think it's going well, but start talk to customers, not a survey monkey, actual phone calls or face-to-face. Call your customers, ask them what they like, what they don't like. Of course, they might tell you that the pricing is too high and things that you can't really help, but you're looking for the other things where they may be saying, look, when I call you, you guys take 20 minutes or an hour to get back to me. But when in fact, let's say if you're an HVAC company, air conditioning company, these are the types of businesses or like plumbing or urgent care that need to respond quickly. When I say quickly, I mean within 5 minutes. All the research shows that if they don't respond quickly, most of them will never be able to build a relationship with that customer, thus the lifetime value going down. It's too expensive to acquire new customers. So you want to nurture the current ones. So that analysis, asking those questions and filling out the forms on your website, on the social media, doing the direct messages, sending emails, all the communication pieces, do a test, a penetration test, and then draw out that journey. And then you're just going to score yourself and say, am I ready to spend $1 on marketing, whether it be on Google or Facebook or Microsoft, wherever you want to spend it, affiliate marketing maybe. But before you do that spend and commit to that budget, make sure you have that customer journey and the customer service super tight. What you're probably going to find is that you still have leads in your system, which are opportunities that weren't treated the same way as some of the other ones. So maybe this is a good time to go back to those leads and say, before I spend dollars on marketing, let me go see if I can convert those that are in my system into customers, or maybe even go back to old customers. I wouldn't be the first one to say that I've had customers over the past 12 years that have been on and off with me, not because I'm doing a terrible job, but just because they have new people come through that want to try a different marketer. And I'm okay with that, but I still stay in touch with them and say, when you guys are ready and you need something, I'm here for you. And so first, find how to improve and increase the profitability from your current network of leads and customers. Once you're done with that, then we can start to talk about what's going to be the best channel for you. Is it affiliate marketing? Is it buying leads from third-party vendors? Like, I'll give you an example. In the world of marketplaces, meaning you've got the marketplace in the middle, like Angie's List, which used to be Home Advisors and now is Angie, or TrueCar. which they sell cars, they're matching the buyers to the sellers. They're just the conduit in between. Those are what we call marketplace. I've seen clients in every vertical, Jeffrey, from home improvement to finance, like mortgage companies, say, actually, I don't want to build my own brand. I don't even want to build my own marketing campaigns. I'm very happy buying third-party leads because it works for me. I'm able to convert and make a profit. Congratulations, more power to you if that's the way you want to do it. But either way, before you go spend that money, it's making sure you do the analysis of the current customer journey.
You bring up another question, and I love how you walk us through your process, and you're starting with that whole intake and taking a look at what's there. And this may even tie into the book that you just came out at the start of the year. And I love the title because I've always said this, how we run our businesses, because most people, and the book will put this in the show notes, if you build it, will they come? The golden path to lead generation success for your business. Because as most business owners, we make the fatal mistake of, okay, I'm going to build it and the world is just going to have a beaten path to my door and I'm not going to be able to quell that demand and get all of that going. So Alex, let's look at one of my favorite questions in this kind of area. It's Pareto's Law, or some people call it the 80-20 rule, where 20% of certain probably business mistakes are creating 80% of the problems for the businesses. Mm-hmm. So when you're working with companies, large companies, small companies, everything in between, and whether it's lead generation or marketing or growing the community or getting new clients, where are we missing it as business owners? What are some of the common mistakes that if we came out of the episode with 1, 2, or 3 of these things that we were mindful of, that we knew to look for in our own business would make a difference for us?
Yeah, it's optimizing your own properties. And your own properties, I mean your email marketing. Notice when I say own properties, own media, there's a difference between own media, shared, and paid media would be the Google, Facebook. They put my ads in front of people. Shared would be also some of the stuff that you get through influencer marketing, through YouTube. But for most people, they never get past 10, 15 views or clicks. So no good there either. Where you have the best opportunity is to focus on your own media. That's your website, your landing pages, your email marketing. These are channels of communication between you and your prospect, you and your customer. As long as you're doing a good job and paying for the right hosting, there's no friction between you and the customer. So if I do an email marketing campaign, there isn't an algorithm really that, as long as I'm sending it to people who I know are opted in, they're probably going to open. As to whether they click through, that's a different question, because that comes down to the content that's in there, the subject lines, whatnot. But the website, how often do you as a consumer, Jeffrey, as a consumer of business products or consumer products, go on a website where it takes you twice as long as the other one that you were on just to accomplish one simple task? So for most of us, we're busy, we're on our smartphones. Most people see that their traffic is 70, 80% is coming from mobile. Meanwhile, their website is slow. It's messy. The navigation is horrible. Think about a brick and mortar as an analogy. If I went to the mall, to the shopping center, and I'm walking around, I go into the store and some of the lights are broken, the door doesn't work very well, product placement is horrible, I probably wouldn't even walk in. And if I did, I'd turn right back around. If there was nobody to help me and talk to me, I'd leave. So when you go on a website, it's a virtual store, same thing. It needs to be nice and tight. It needs to move quickly. Navigation is easy. Your phone number right on the header. If you don't want to talk to people, don't put your phone number in the header, put it in the footer. But put your phone number in the header and say, call us today. And then pick up the phone, most importantly. And forget the social media links on the header. Stuff that down in the footer. So these are some of the things that you can do, and where the question is, what are we missing on? For most business owners, I see it's that they're neglecting their website, the content, and that communication between them and the client. So for example, I'll see people on LinkedIn, I'll see people on YouTube, and at the end of their videos or posts, they'll say, oh, here, check out my YouTube page, connect with me on LinkedIn, check out my Facebook page. You're sending people to a place where, first of all, people are going there to play and have a good time. And then everybody else is there. When in fact, you should always be telling people, come to your website. Now, again, the website's got to be ready. And so you've got to build landing pages. How often I see, Jeffrey, companies running ads on any of the platforms, paid ads. And when I click on the ad, instead of going to a landing page that is optimized for conversion, I'm going to the homepage with a bunch of navigation and a bunch of content that actually isn't even relative to the offer that I saw. So if you're going to run ads, you've got to have landing pages. And again, these are all things that are in your control. We're not talking SEO. We're not talking influencer marketing. We're talking owned media, the things that you control.
And it's a great point, but a very subtle one that some of our listeners may not appreciate. And what I like about what you're sharing, Alex, you're saying, hey, when you're collecting the leads, take the ownership of that. Have them come to you, not someone else's marketplace. And for the benefit of our listeners, because I'm sure some listeners are saying, yeah, I could do that and our website, whatever. But hey, it's great on, pick the social media platform. I'm just going to call it social media. It could be any of the ones that you've mentioned and some of the ones that you haven't mentioned. Well, I'm just going to be out there and they're well known and they're collecting all the information from me and it's all good and they're going to protect my data and everything else. Why is that not the way to go? What would be some of the dangers if I'm relying on having my leads and the client names and the contact information come through someone else's platform, like a social media platform?
Oh, I love the way you position that question, because we have examples of clients who've had their brands shut down on social media for one reason or another. I'll give you one example. Large law firm we worked with during the last election, they decided that what they wanted to do was do a PSA, free. There's no call to action. This is a law firm. And they said, our PSA is go vote. So we built a whole campaign around go vote. Had nothing to do with selling legal services. They were just telling people, get registered, go out and vote. They weren't saying vote for this candidate or that candidate, just vote. And lo and behold, some of the social media platforms shut their pages down. You're on rented space. You're on rented space. You do all this work, create all this content, and then the social media companies or the Googles of the world, they'll come in and say, sorry, we don't like what you put out there. Thanks for sharing all this content all this time, but we're going to kick you off. So what I say is you should have a two-tiered system. Tier one is your own media. So start with your content there. Start and end as many conversations with your customers there. Add chat to your website. Talk to people. Secondary, it's that second tier is going to be everything else. The share, the paid, all the other medias, no problem. Not saying you shouldn't be there. As a matter of fact, you could set it on autopilot. If I add a blog post to my website, it can automatically share everywhere. So I don't even have to have a person, a marketer, doing this manually. But then you're still going to need to connect all the messaging, because I don't want them to fall into the trap, which I think you were alluding to, a trap of, I have a page for my business on the social media platform, but I'm not there to start or engage conversation. So you still want to make sure that you integrate those messaging apps to whatever one you're using on your website. So for example, WordPress or Shopify. You can do that and have one main hub for all the messaging so that you're not having your marketing director or assistant chasing messages all day long. You still want to be there, because the truth is, let's take Pinterest, because I have a client that this happened to. They wanted to create a lot of content on Pinterest for their target audience were mommies, but they didn't want to be there to have conversations. And very quickly, they saw that blow up. People are upset and saying, hey, I'm here. I'm engaging with your content, but you're not talking to me. So the fix for that was integrate that messaging into their WordPress, control all the messaging in one place.
Makes so much sense. And again, the takeaway for the listeners is you control your own house. So all your information, all your leads are going into your house. And if it's not your house, you're renting. And we all know if you don't own the place, the owner may decide to close it down for no reason whatsoever. And there goes your business. So really, think of it like business interruption insurance, that if you're having to go to your own website, places that you control, better yet, you're collecting the email addresses directly, because the emails are, people say every year email is dead, it's dying. Yet I think it's becoming even more essential as time goes on. Just to get all that information. And so, Alex, let me ask you this, because we've covered a lot of ground today and there's so much more that we can still cover. But from a time perspective, listener walking away from this episode, if they were to do one or two things, and one or two things only that would have the biggest impact for them, what would that be for them?
Absolutely. It's a great question. It depends on whether they have a budget, and it depends on their time. Those are the two things that I always say depend on my answer. What's your budget and what's your timeline? But let's assume I don't know in either case. I'm going to tell you there's nothing better than doing the analysis for your current customer experience. So go from web inquiries that you get, messages on social media, phone calls that you get, and just do an audit. Just do an honest audit. As a matter of fact, don't even do it in-house. Hire out. Go on Upwork, go on Fiverr, go on LinkedIn, hire somebody, could be 15, 20 bucks an hour, someone who does market research, and have them conduct an analysis so that you can figure out what your score is. And maybe you use the NPS system. You can use other ones like Voice of Customers. There's so many out there, but really try to figure out, how are you serving your current customers and your prospects? And where are the leaks in that bucket? I'm going to guarantee you there isn't a brand out there, even the best brands. I can point out leaks in their buckets all day long, even my own. I was just told the other day that there was a function on our website that wasn't working. That makes me crazy, but guess what? It happens and it's okay. And then we fix it. But if I didn't have someone looking at these things, then over time, it's in the house. This happens to me, Jeffrey. As a matter of fact, I'm going through that right now. I shared with you, I got sick for a little bit. We had a few things going on. And then at the same time, things started to fall apart in the house. My screen ripped, this problem with this sprinkler, this problem with this sink, that sink. And typically I try to take care of things as they come. If I can't do it, I hire somebody, they come out. But not now. They've accumulated and it's just like piling up. And I'm like a little overwhelmed because I'm saying, instead of spending the weekend hanging out with the kids, I've got a laundry list of little home improvement things to do. It's the same thing with your business in any area, but definitely marketing and the website. As things start to break, if you do not fix them right there on the spot, it just gets worse. And then you start to lose customers. I will prove to you every time that if that process isn't tight, the customer experience, which some call the customer journey, you are losing money. You will lose money. So make it better, make it the best. Come back, talk to your customers and say, listen, now we improved it. Give us feedback now. And those customers are going to tell you what they like, what they don't, Jeffrey.
Some terrific insights there. And Alex, before we head into the wrap-up question for the podcast, I want to ask you a question with a question. Is there any question that I didn't ask that I should have asked that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Boy, there's always a lot of questions. I think the main one that I get, you were mentioning email marketing. One that I get is, okay, so I want to build an email marketing list because I hear it's the lowest cost per acquisition, yada, yada. But how do I get subscribers if I don't have traffic to my website and if I don't have a list? One thing I'm going to suggest is that you never buy a list. So let's just start there. If that list that you send out emails that are supposedly opted in for your type of product or service, if it's tied to your domain, you could potentially be blacklisted by Google and others. So I would just say that's my biggest don't. And as far as like building that email list, again, going back to your own media, you just got to do it by building relationships. And it might start with 10, 100. As you go out there, you start to build that list, do some ads, ask people to subscribe to your updates, and then just be ready to nurture it with good content. And if you do nurture it with good content, fortunately for most of us, most people who have a smartphone aren't unsubscribing to these emails in massive amounts. Actually, most people are just fine opting in, getting the update, clicking through and scrolling because everybody loves information.
Terrific, terrific tips. And with that in mind, and again, you know what, we could just go down the rabbit hole here, Alex. That would take us episodes, not days, but episodes and series of things that we can ask. But let's do this. Let's begin to wrap up. We're starting to bump up against some time here. And I want to do a quick thought experiment with you. I'd like you to think about the movie Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
And in the movie, you have that magical car, that DeLorean car that can take you to any point in time. So imagine now, Alex, it's tomorrow morning and you look outside your window and there it is. Not only is the DeLorean car sitting there, but the door is open and waiting for you to hop on in. So you hop in and you can now go to any point in time. Maybe it's Alex as a young child or a teenager. Whatever point in time it would be. Alex, what are you telling your younger self in terms of life wisdom or lessons learned? Or, hey, Alex, do this, but don't do that. What would that sound like for you?
Yeah, I think I would go to any time in period that my dad was still alive. He passed away in 2006. So I would say anytime there, because growing up was just amazing. My dad was an amazing dad. So I'd love to go back to that time. But beyond that, Jeffrey, I think I would go to any period in time where we didn't have technology, phones, no cars, and just see the way my mom and dad, they grew up in Brazil. They were so far behind the US here. So they really there were no cars, it's just donkeys, and they barely had electricity. But man, they grew up so tight and had so much fun. I hear all the stories of them growing up in a farm. And to me, it appeals to me because I think it's about people and relationships, not things. And I think today, most of us feel the pressure of all the things that we have around us. And while it's great, technology is great, cars are great, all that stuff has advanced the world, it also complicates it for us. And so I just feel like that was I say simpler times. And in a way, I do have a DeLorean, Jeffrey, in a way. It's not a DeLorean, but it's a little RV. And honestly, as I was just thinking about my answer, I said, we actually do this normally. We started to homeschool the kids 4 years ago, and we did so and with the idea of buying an RV and then being able to get away every month, let the business grow because we've been at it for a long time and we have the right people. Let's put the 4 kids in the RV and let's go to the middle of nowhere and spend a week, sometimes 2 weeks. And we do that. But as I said all of that, I realized that we kind of already do that. And so I take back the car part of it because the car part is like very important. I don't want to go in a donkey. Sorry.
What a gift, what a treasure and a legacy you're setting up for your kids who are going to be looking back and just remembering that and really shaping their values and how they're going to be as young adults and then adults and contributing to society. So what a way to do that. Well, Alex, I'm going to put this in the show notes as we begin to wrap this up. If a listener would like to find you online and get in touch, what would be the best place?
Yes, dadpreneur.co. That's the website, dadpreneur.co.
Love it. And listeners, when you're there, check out the podcast, check out the blog, check out Alex's book. We'll have all those links in the show notes for you. It'll be a point and click. It'll be really easy. Well, Alex, we're at that point where sadly and unfortunately, we're going to have to close out this episode, but it's been an absolute delight and really a heartfelt thank you for taking part of your day and spending it with us here on the Deep Wealth Podcast.
Likewise, Jeffrey. Thank you.
The Deep Wealth experience was definitely a game changer for me.
This course is one of the best investments you will ever make because you will get an ROI of 100 times that. Anybody who doesn't go through it will lose millions.
If you don't have time for this program, you'll never have time for a successful liquidity.
I mean, it was the best value of any business course I've ever taken. The money was very well spent.
Compared to when we first began, today I feel better prepared, but in some respects, maybe less prepared, not because of the course, but because the course brought to light so many things that I thought we were on top of that we need to fix.
I 100% believe there's never a great time for a business owner to allocate extra hours into his or her week or day. So it's an investment that will yield results today. I thought I will reap the benefit of this program in 3 to 5 years down the road. But as soon as I stepped forward into the program, my mind changed immediately.
There was so much value in the experience that the time I invested paid back so much for the energy that was expended.
The Deep Wealth experience compared to other programs is the top. What we learned is very practical. Sometimes you learn stuff that is great to learn, but you never use it. The stuff we learned from Deep Wealth experience, I believe is going to benefit us both.
I've done an executive MBA. I've worked for billion-dollar companies before. I've worked for smaller companies before I started my business. I've been running my business successfully now for getting close to a decade. We're on a growth trajectory. Reflecting back on the Deep Wealth, I knew less than 10% what I know now. Maybe close to 1% even.
Hands down, the best program in which I've ever participated. And we've done a lot of different things over the years. We've been in other mastermind groups, gone to many seminars, workshops, conferences, retreats, read books. This was so different. I haven't had an experience that's anything close to this in all the years that we've been at this. It's 5-star, A+.
I would highly recommend it to any super busy business owner out there. And Deep Wealth is an accurate name for it. This program leads to deeper wealth. and happier wealth, not just deeper wealth. I don't think there's a dollar value that could be associated with such an experience and knowledge that could be applied today and forever.
Are you leaving millions on the table? Please visit www.deepwealth.com/success to learn more. If you're not on my email list, you'll want to be. Sign up at www.deepwealth.com/podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode of the Sell My Business podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Reviews help me reach new listeners, grow the show, and continue to create content that you'll enjoy. As we close out this episode, a heartfelt thank you for your time, and as always, please stay healthy and safe.